Do you think alternatives to smoking like nicotine pouches and vaping are safer than smoking cigarettes or cigars? Research shows that it could possibly cause health issues in a shorter duration. Vaping is a trend that now has become an epidemic in young adults, causing lung issues. In a younger population of adults, people as young as high schoolers are affected by these vapes that have been plaguing schools across the country. In today's society, it is now common to see young people dependent on nicotine and highly addicted. The use of e-cigarettes and vape causes the development of EVALI in young adults, which is classified as a lung injury. There are also studies that report that there are toxins found in vaping devices. With all of these cases, studies, and headlines of young people being harmed by using these dangerous devices, yet they still have access to vapes. There may be a solution to stop the epidemic of bad lungs in young people. First and foremost, the most important to know is why is vaping dangerous? There are various health issues being caused by vaping. Let's go over a few examples of what vaping is doing to your lungs and what will happen over time. Reports from New Scientist magazine shows that nicotine is addictive and overstimulates the sympathetic nervous system, causing the heart to beat harder and faster and cause blood pressure to rise. According to the American Heart Association, chronic overstimulation of the heart is known to be a risk or a factor for cardiac failure. In an interview with Dr. Oz, Good Housekeeping reports that e-cigarettes may contain toxins, and one study found that the coils in the vaping pens may expose people to dangerous levels of heavy metals such as lead. And of course, e-cigarettes contain nicotine, which is addictive and can be a gateway to traditional cigarettes for young people. The statement from Dr. Oz suggests that vaping causes young people to indulge in other sources of nicotine, such as traditional cigarettes or nicotine pouches, which will cause people to sink into an even deeper level of addiction that is extremely difficult to quit. Addiction is the reason why people who use nicotine cannot put their vapes down. When you go to parties or social events, you will see people who constantly have their vapes in their hands for the whole duration of the event. Nicotine addiction is from research from the Family of Practice study shows for delivery of nicotine, smoking is the most efficient mechanism in a matter of seconds. Nicotine from inhaled smoke crosses the blood-brain barrier and begins altering brain chemistry through the bindings of chronological receptors normally activated in the acetylcholine. Dopamine is released in the nucleus accumbens, triggering central nervous system effects such as pleasure, relief, anxiety, better task performance, and improved memory. These rewards serve to reinforce smoking behavior. The Nature of Neuroscience group reports that individuals with mental illnesses, particularly with depression, may be more susceptible to nicotine addiction because tobacco provides desired positive mood influences. Furthermore, they are often experience more severe withdrawal symptoms, making it more difficult to quit. They are also reported that in the U.S., more than 60% of young people try smoking, and about one-third to half of them become daily smokers. And those who initiate smoking cigarette consumption escalates over a couple of years, but the addiction proceeds quickly in adolescence. Now that you know some of the health complications that come with vaping and nicotine addiction, we ask ourselves, why is vaping still being pushed to the public, and why is it so prevalent in today's society? The impact of vape-producing companies in today's market, targeting teens and young adults. The Young American Lung Association reports that flavored e-cigarettes used among kids remains extremely high. Among 90% of middle and high school students who vape reported using flavored cigarettes, with the top flavors being fruit, candy, dessert, and other sweets, mint, and menthol. This magazine study shows that in the early days of Juul, a lot of the marketing was nakedly targeted to young people in the U.S. O'Hara explains not just with flavors, but the specific imagery that they were using in their Instagram posts. Juul's early advertisements featured bold colors and youthful models. This magazine research also states vape stores aren't full of old smokers looking to quit, they're full of young kids looking for new flavors and new experiences. At 180 Smoke Vape Store on Queen Street, West Toronto, vape products are displayed like Apple products in the Apple Store. Misleading claims. Studies from Oxford Academics shows over half of the Instagram posts tagged with e-cig or hashtag vape from 2011 to 2015 were from the corporate sources, and e-cigarettes were most commonly promoted as smoking cessation devices. Cessation devices are the process of ending something. In the words of Big Tobacco, their vapes of the cessation device to end smoking addiction was completely misleading due to the fact that nicotine is which is still addictive substance and still main ingredient in the vape devices. The use of legal loopholes. The New York Times reports that some companies have moved beyond the reach of the Food and Drug Administration by swapping out pre-ingredients. They have circumvented federal oversight of tobacco plant-derived nicotine by using an unregulated synthetic version. Times Magazine also stated, scientists are just beginning to study the unknown health effects of synthetic nicotine, even as research is expanding into the harm caused by vaping and flavored ingredients, alongside continuing cases of devastating vaping-related injuries. With the evidence that is inevitable that we call for action to get these dangerous so-called healthier alternative devices into the hands of people, especially young people, here are some ways to make a difference in our society. Some solutions to ban vaping e-cigarettes. Public health ban. MedCourt magazine reports that California, Los Angeles County just expanded its ban on vaping to all public beaches, parks, and government buildings within 25 feet of restaurants and 40 feet of street food vendors. This is a step in the right direction to help taper the use of dependency of e-cigarettes and also reduce the health effects caused by secondhand smoke. Eliminate access to flavored products. Time magazine reports that in anticipation of national ban, Juul has taken the most of its flavors off the market. Until recently, mint flavored products made up 70% of its sales. Menthol was 10% of tobacco flavors, accounted for 20%. This suggests that big brands like Juul are in agreement to stop selling exotic flavors such as fruits and desserts in order to help reduce the amount of younger smokers, since they are attracted to sweeter flavors. The Food and Drug Administration states that public health campaigns like the Real Cost reduce the burden of tobacco-related morbidity for a generation of U.S. youth. The Food and Drug Administration also reported in 2024, we found evidence of self-reported exposure to the digital social media campaign. The Real Cost was successful in influencing youth, providing support for effectiveness of campaigns of adaptation to address youth changes in tobacco media use. E-cigarettes and vapes, also known as ENDS device, been out since the early 2000s, but in the present time we are feeling full effects due to the development of e-valley in young people across the country. Since vape devices contain nicotine, which is known as a highly addictive substance, it is very hard to reset years of dependency in young adults. With a well-established market, it is difficult to resolve the epidemic, but it is not impossible. But with the support of the local legislator and the help of the FDA campaigns like the Real Cost, we as a society can bring awareness to young adults. Next time you find yourself at a party and see someone smoking a vape, just be a good Samaritan and let them know that the consequences of vaping and the use of nicotine is important to end the addictive trend, and it's not cool to be addicted to anything, especially if it's causing you and the people around you harm. Please think twice before putting anything in your body without doing research before. By enforcing strict regulations and bringing awareness to the next generation of adults, this epidemic can be reduced drastically.